All right, cool. So, um, I know everyone on the call already knows me, but for the benefit of anybody that may be watching back later, my name is Christine Bastion Williams from CrossFit Good Fortune. We're very excited to have you here tonight to dig into the topic around navigating the all or nothing mindset. All right, so have you ever set a goal for yourself and then gotten distracted or frustrated when either you didn't reach it or maybe it just didn't happen as quickly as you wanted it to? Or maybe you've been super consistent about a goal for a few weeks and then fallen off, right? So I would raise your hand if that's ever happened to you, because I know it's happened to me. Yeah. So in the chat, I want you to let me know what it is that you're looking to take away from this tonight. Continue with a positive mindset. Awesome. Like it. All right. So tonight, we're going to discuss some mindset tips and some actionable items that you can take away to help create a winning mindset and start crushing your goals. But Laura likes learning stuff. She's like me. We always like to learn together. All right. So at CrossFit Good Fortune, we partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition to support our clients in using a framework that's been guided, tested, and proven. Right. So we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple habit based approach. Right. But we know that helping you become the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or going to the gym for a few hours a week. This is why we have to focus on a holistic approach addressing nutrition, stress, sleep, exercise, support system, and lifestyle, right? And mindset fits right in with all of those things. So this is just a view of some of the Healthy Steps nutrition folks that we work with who have helped over 45,000 people around the world take control of their health. So we know that while this sounds simple, that this is far from easy, right? So tonight we're going to dive into how you can create yourself a winning mindset. And then your health and wellness journey, even though it's going to be full of surprises, we want you to believe in your abilities, persist through setbacks, and stay focused on your goals. So let's talk mindset. All right, so creating a winning mindset can greatly contribute to achieving success and reaching your goals. Right? It involves developing certain attitudes, beliefs, and habits that can help you approach challenges, setbacks, and goals with a positive and determined mindset. So ultimately, cultivating that winning mindset is about maximizing your potential, embracing growth, and striving to be the best version of yourself. It's going to empower you to overcome obstacles as they arise, achieve success, and lead a more fulfilling and purposeful life. So let's dive into those three tips to help cultivate that winning mindset. All right. So, tip number one, we want to start by defining clear and specific goals for what you want to achieve, right? When it comes to defining those goals, it might be helpful to use the SMART framework, right? So, SMART stands for specific, meaning that it's clearly defined, measurable. So, how are you going to measure your progress? Achievable means that it's an attainable goal. Relevant is that it's going to align with your broader purpose, and time bound, right? So, when do you want to achieve that goal, right? So, SMART. Now, important for that is understanding your why, right? When you have a clear understanding of why you're pursuing a goal, it's going to help fuel that motivation, right? So, your why is going to act as a powerful source of inspiration, reminding you of the meaningful reasons behind your actions, right? So, that motivation is going to help you stay focused, overcome those obstacles that we know are going to come up, and then persist even during those challenging times. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question: how will my life improve when I reach this goal? Right. So it can be helpful to picture yourself a year from now. You've completed those goals And I want you to imagine what your life might look like. What are you doing? Who are you doing that with? And how do you feel? Right? So how is your life going to be different? So I'm going to take a moment to let you guys think about that for a second. All right. So now that we've thought a little bit about that why, so we want to talk about outcome versus process goals. Right. So the outcome is the objective point at which you determine whether you've reached your goal or not. Right. But those process goals are going to be the things that you need to do every day in order to reach that goal. Right. So at CrossFit Good Fortune, we would call those process goals the habits or the action steps that you need to take daily in order to reach those goals. So ultimately, if you fall in love with the process, your outcome goals of either whether it's losing weight, gaining muscle, getting your first pull up, those things are just going to happen. But in order to create those appropriate process goals, we have to know where we're headed, right? I was telling Ian the other day, I used to have a viola teacher that would always say, you have to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. Now, she was talking about position shifting, but I believe it still applies. Right. So this kind of illustrates like people want to take those big steps and they think that they're going to get farther faster. But what actually works is going to be taking those small steps consistently that are going to be more effective and sustainable in the long run rather than trying to make those big drastic changes. Right. So that's why we're going to focus on one habit at a time and progress over perfection. All right. So that's all tip number one, right? So defining what we want and why. So let's talk about number two, which is going to be planning for success, right? So, planning is going to be an essential step towards achieving those goals and realizing your aspirations. All right, so let's talk about some key things that we're going to need to consider in planning. Willpower. So, in the chat, I want you to know what you think about when you hear the word willpower. I'll take a second for you guys to note that. I'm going to find my chat window because I lost it. All right. So, what do you guys think about when you hear willpower? Mm, okay. All right. So, we've got internal struggles is something that someone thinks about. Keeping up with a good habit, willpower is those habits. That's awesome, right? So, a lot of people might think about things like determination, drive, self discipline, self control, right? So, all those things are great definitions, right? Those are all the things that we think of. Now, psychologists would actually characterize willpower more specifically, right? So, it's the conscious, effortful regulation of the self by the self, right? That's kind of a wordy way to say that like you have the capacity to override an unwanted thought, feeling, or impulse, right? So at its core, willpower is the ability to resist that short-term temptation in order to meet those long-term goals, right? So it can be helpful to think about when we're faced with, I don't know, a temptation, right? um is that is whatever it is in front of you, that decision that you have to make, is that in alignment with your goals, right? So that's where that why becomes really, really important and powerful. So we can always come back to that and say, is this going to help me get to my long term goal? All right. So there are a few different ways in which you can kind of help yourself out here by setting up your environment to align with your goals, right? That's going to significantly increase your chances of success. So there are a few different strategies around your environment, both physical as well as social, right? So physical things might involve, out of sight, out of mind, right? So maybe we don't keep certain things in the pantry, or we have healthier choices more front and center, right? If your goal is maybe exercising first thing in the morning, a helpful reminder might be to lay your clothes out the night before or your sneakers right next to your bed. And that is a physical reminder of what your plan was, right? Now, our social environment is just as important, right? So we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So we want to be intentional about choosing relationships that are going to be supportive, positive, and are going to align with our values and goals. Right. So we want to surround ourselves with people who inspire, challenge, and motivate us to become the best version of ourselves. Right. We want to be around people that strive us to be better. So, tip number three is around creating daily reminders. So, seeing reminders can provide that boost of motivation and inspiration, right? So, they serve as that visual cue of reminding us why we set those goals in the first place. So, it can kind of reignite that enthusiasm and drive when things are challenging, or maybe you've hit a little bit of a plateau. When progress feels slow, those daily reminders of why we started is really important. So, some studies estimate that the average adult makes around 2,000 to 10,000 decisions a day, right? That's a lot. Right? That can include like, what are we going to wear? What are we going to eat? How are we going to get to work today? Right? How do we prioritize our tasks? Right? Decision fatigue is real, right? So we want to make sure that our healthiest choices or the choices that are going to align with our long-term goals, we want to make that the easiest choice, right? So how are we going to make those things obvious? So again, with that morning workout habit, that's a great one. A lot of people really want to try to start working out first thing in the morning. You can find an accountability partner, right? Sharing your goals with someone is really helpful. Blocking the time off in your schedule. When I first started CrossFit, I blocked off. I was an afternoon worker outer, so I blocked that time off in my schedule because I that was an appointment for myself. Right? You can register for class ahead of time and make sure to pack your gym clothes and bring them with you to work if you're working out after work. Right? So you have them readily available. So there's not that temptation or that potential to say, oh, well, I left my clothes at home, so I'm just not going to go today. Right. So we want to find ways to make those reminders obvious, and that can be different for person to person. But a great way to kind of establish a habit is just to stack it onto something that you're already doing, right? So maybe if for your stress management you want to start journaling or start meditating at the end of the day, you can add that into your nightly wind down routine, right? So kind of just building it into a habit that already exists. So, but it's also helpful to keep in mind that we are not robots, right? So, distractions, interruptions, those things are going to happen, which is why it's important to understand that progress is by no means linear, right? It's a dynamic process that's going to involve growth, adaptation, as well as resilience. And it may involve, some of those reminders or how we habit stack. We may have to move those things around as routines change, just kind of working around everything isn't going to work all the time, and sometimes we have to reevaluate what may be a better habit, right, or a better fit for that habit. Now, what's also helpful is to think about if you're somebody that their goal is weight loss, right? We want to think about things that are non-scale victories, right? So this is an example of non-scale victories, like a better mood. Maybe you have increased energy, more confidence, right? We want to focus in on the great things that are happening along the journey on our way to that long-term outcome. Right. So we call them bright spots. I love to do a bright spot Friday with a lot of my nutrition clients where we kind of take a step back, look at the week, and highlight what went well. What am I proud of myself for this week? What did I crush? Right. And then we remember those positives versus just focusing on the negative or maybe a frustration that we're not where we think we should be by now. Right. So we always want to focus in on those positive points. And a great way to do that is with positive affirmations. Now, staying positive is a continuous practice. So we need to be patient with ourselves, embrace self care, and approach your journey with a mindset of self love, acceptance, and gratitude, right? So by reinforcing positive thoughts and beliefs, you're going to experience increased motivation, focus, and resilience. right? So leading to improved performance, increased chances of achieving your goals. Now, positive affirmations are a great tool for this. Some of them might include what's written here. And I think I've made the handout large enough so that you can see some of the options on here. These are just jumping off points, but take a look and I want you to drop in the chat maybe one positive affirmation that is speaking to you. I'm not scared to do hard things. I love that one. I also really like I can do anything I set my mind to. I like that one as well. Progress over perfection. Yes. See, number six. I am worthy of accomplishment, success, and abundance. Yes, you are. I can persevere when things get tough. That's awesome. I encourage you guys to write those things down. You can put them on a sticky note and put them up somewhere that you see often, right? And remind yourself of those things, right? Um, Keeping that positive at the forefront is super important. So now let's talk about overthinking, right? So overthinking is when what you think gets in the way of what you want, right? So if you're an overthinker, this book is a really good one that discusses like how to overcome overthinking. So maybe you can relate and struggle with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, second guessing yourself occasionally. I bought this book and the moment I heard about it because I am definitely an overthinker. So it's been helpful. You can also check out the Healthy Steps Nutrition podcast. Nutrition Made Simple, podcast episode 78 actually features John Acuff, and it is around setting goals that stick with a winning mindset and how to overcome overthinking. I'm actually going to, if I can do this, I'm gonna copy and paste. Oh, Ian's got it. Ian's gonna copy and paste the link for you. You reminded me. So I would love to hear what a takeaway that you have from today is, and what is a tip you think you can take action on, right? So we had setting process goals, right? So setting determining our why. We had reminders. Let's see, you can go back here, right? So daily reminders, defining what we want and why, and planning for success. Oh, Laura, I can let you borrow my copy if you want. And the library, the Eastline Public Library, also has it on Libby. Yes, small steps are better than big steps, and to be patient. Yes. Willpower, needing to challenge yourself more. Nice. I love this. I love that you guys have some actionable things that you can take away. Um, So before we wrap up, a lot of times we go through this kind of stuff and we struggle a little bit with putting those things into practice. So I just kind of want to remind you guys a little bit about what our nutrition program does. And a lot of that is actually around building those good solid habits, right? So we focus in on whole foods first, a balance of protein, carbs, and fat at every meal and snack, and limiting the amounts of processed carbohydrates and sugar that we intake. One of the biggest things about our coaching program is that holistic based approach, kind of helping you navigate building those habits, right? So setting those habits and having that accountability. Um, there's a dedicated coach providing that accountability. Weekly check-ins, a sit down every 4 weeks. I'm gonna cough. I don't have, I can't find my Zoom. All right, I'm still here. All right. So here here are some client wins that we've had. Uh oh my gosh. I apparently lost my voice this evening. I'm sure you guys are all super psyched. So here are some of our recent client wins that we've had. And for current clients, if you are interested in the nutrition program, looking for accountability, need help navigating things, set up a goal setting session. And anybody that's watching this back that is not a current client, you can book a discovery call. So I'm going to find my screen again. And if you guys have any additional questions for me, yeah, open forum. You're welcome. So I am going to save a copy of this, and I we will post it up on our YouTube, and I will send you guys an email with that link and with any of the other links that Ian put here in the chat. Um, so yeah, if anything else comes up, anything else more that you want to discuss, I'll see you at the gym, or you can book your goal setting session, and we can sit down and kind of navigate a path for you to get started. All right. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great evening, and I will talk to you soon. All right. Good night.